Hello people, it's Michael from the Kubeapps team, just with another demo about, this time, logging into Kubeapps on Tanzu Mission Control. So let's have a look. I can click here to log in as per usual, and you'll notice this time that I'm logging in via VMware Cloud Services, which is an OIDC compliant identity provider. And after it goes through a number of checks, there we are. So we can now, for example, I can change the Kubeapps namespace, and we'll see there's Kubeapps as usual. So what's special here? The key is that Tanzu Mission Control doesn't actually configure any OIDC or OAuth2 authentication possibilities from the API server. So let's just have a look to confirm that. So just to show you the namespaces, so you can see there's the VMware System Tanzu Mission Control namespace there. But if I check the API server for any OIDC arguments, there are actually none. That is, the API server is not configured to be able to authenticate OIDC ID tokens. So how was I able to log in via with Kubeapps? Well, the key is a new tool from VMware called pinniped. I'll have a look at pinniped in a moment, but just to be clear, this doesn't yet work on Tanzu Mission Control. To do this demo, I've actually had to disable the agent updater and a bunch of Tanzu Mission Control services to ensure that I can run a newer version of the pinniped service. So it needs the 0.3.0 of pinniped for this to work. So coming back, there we go. So pinniped, it's about simplifying user authentication for any Kubernetes cluster. So the way that works with pinniped, let's have a look. So the normal part that pinniped is concerned with is just this part here. So using kubectl, you're able to talk to the API server by logging into your OpenID identity provider. And what pinniped does, it says, great, I've verified that you can log in to the identity provider. I'll switch your ID token, your OIDC ID token, for a short-lived client authentication certificate, which can be used which kubectl will then use for further requests to the API server. And that allows the Kubernetes API server to recognize the user, and RBAC just kicks in from then. Pinniped isn't itself actually set up for use with web apps. That is something that's in the Pinniped team's longer term goals, but right now it's not. So what we have had to do for Kubeapps is add a new small service called pinniped proxy. I'll get to that in a minute. So without pinniped, the normal operation for Kubeapps would be that a web browser makes a request to Kubeapps, which hits our OAuth2 proxy. It ensures the user's logged in by talking to the identity provider and setting a cookie. And once the user's logged in, the request's forwarded to our Nginx front end, which with the ID token, the OIDC token, and normally at that point, it will talk directly with the Kubernetes API server because the Kubernetes API server is configured to trust those OIDC tokens. But in this case, it goes through one more layer. So our front end proxies through to the new service. Now, this is a small service that I've written in Rust, which just handles the interaction proxying to pinniped to exchange the credentials. So it receives a request with the OIDC ID token. It talks to pinniped, the pinniped service, and exchanges that for the personal short-lived client authentication certificate, which the request then is passed through to the Kubernetes API server and things work as normal. And that allows us, as we saw here, so I'll log out again. And when we log in, that's exactly what's happening here. We're getting the OIDC token from our provider, VMware Cloud Services, which then any request to the API server from that point has that credential exchanged for the client certificate, which enables Kubeapps to talk to the API server. Hopefully this will be available soon, where there's a few things that still need to be done. As I said, we need a new version on Tanzu Mission Control of the pinniped that needs to be updated. and I'm not sure when that's happening. And there are also a few smaller issues which we need to work on the Kubeapps side to make everything work perfectly. Thanks for your time.